Terrifying secrets of the cursed frost giants, 2,000 years of haunted slumber now exposed. The bitter winter wind howled through the snow-blanketed streets of Birchwood, Minnesota, carrying whispers of ancient horror. Sarah jerked awake, her heart pounding, the shadows in her small rental home looming like sinister specters. She glanced at her children Teddy, 5, and Mia, 7, sleeping peacefully, but a chill crept deep within her. The legends of the frost giants, those monstrous beings said to haunt the woods, gnawed at her mind. They were just stories, weren't they? Yet, the air felt thick with a dread she couldn't shake. Each night at the diner, the townsfolk exchanged tales, their voices low and eerie, eyes darting nervously as if the frost giants themselves might be lurking just outside. Sarah poured coffee for grizzled locals, her own thoughts swirling with exhaustion and worry. How could she protect her babies amidst such overwhelming fear? But that night, something shifted. She returned home to find cold drafts swirling, eerily oppressive, like icy fingers grasping at warmth. As she huddled beneath the covers with her children, anxious whispers echoed through her head. It wasn't just the wind, she swore she heard snatches of a strange, guttural language, a tongue long forgotten. Rattled, she dismissed it as stress and fatigue. Just tired, she mumbled to herself, trying to shake off unease. But when Mia sleepwalked to the door, murmuring in that same strange language, Sarah felt a sickening dread settle into the pit of her stomach. Mia! She gasped, grabbing her daughter's arm as a wave of terror washed over her. The child blinked up at her, confused and frightened, and the words faded into silence. The next day, she confided in Sheriff Grayson, hoping for support. Instead, he dismissed her concerns with a scoff. "It's just the winter getting to you, Sarah. Folks get cabin fever." His laughter stung more than the cold winter air. The town's rumor mill whirled, but this was her family at stake. With resolve ignited, she plunged into the town's dark history. The tales she uncovered were horrifying. Stories of neglectful ancestors striking bargains with frost giants. Each tale unspooled like a gnarled vine wrapping ever tighter around her spirit. But no one seemed to care, and whispers of betrayal infiltrated the laughter around her. One bleak night, curiosity urged her toward the woods behind their home. Frost-covered trees loomed, and she stumbled upon ominous symbols etched into the bark-worn images of giants, faces devoid of mercy. Panic surged, and she dashed home, heart racing. She flung open the door, only to find Teddy wandering outside. "Mama," he sang in that whispered language, eyes glazed, as if something beyond him beckoned. Gulping cold air filled with dread, Sarah felt the ground slip under her. Figures materialized in her mind, frost giants, ancient, powerful. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with the clamor of the wind at her back. Sarah's breath quickened. The shadows pressed in closer, the darkness thicker than ever. Heart pounding, she realized the brush of ancient history hung over Birchwood, waiting to intertwine with her own fate. Each moment echoed the same chilling question: would confronting the frost giants mean uncovering a greater darkness? With a roar from the woods that vibrated through the frozen ground, she braced herself. The ultimate challenge lay ahead. This time, the truth might not set her free, it could be the end of everything she held dear. The wind shrieked like a banshee, tearing through the trees and swirling snowflakes into a twisted frenzy. Sarah's pulse thrummed against her chest, a frantic drum signaling the encroaching dark. She stepped outside, heart racing, and spotted Teddy still staring into the woods, oblivious to her terror. He turned, a strange, eerie smile plastered on his face. "Mama, they're waiting," he said, voice sweet yet hollow, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. "Who's waiting?" she asked, trying to sound calm. But panic bubbled in her throat. "We need to go inside, Teddy. Now." Before she could grab his arm, he turned back toward the woods. Shadows shifted and deepened as if the trees themselves were moving. A low, rumbling growl echoed within the icy silence. It vibrated through the ground, making her teeth rattle as she felt the ancient power thrumming beneath her feet. With a desperate lunge, she grabbed Teddy and yanked him toward the door. Cold fingers, invisible yet tangible, clawed at her back, urging her to turn around. "We have to leave," she shouted, terror ripping through her like a wild animal. It was now or never. She couldn't lose her children to these monstrous legends. Just as they reached the threshold, the door creaked open on its own. The air inside was icy, defying any comforting warmth of home. Mia stood in the dark, her eyes eerily bright, shoulders quaking as if something deep within her twisted and turned. "Mia!" Sarah cried, rushing to her daughter, insight spilling through her mind like a rush of cold water. "Mama, they want to play," Mia whispered, her voice carrying the same guttural undertones that haunted Sarah's nights. The words twisted her stomach in knots. "No, no, we don't play with them," Sarah said, panic bleeding into her voice. She squeezed Mia close, her skin chilled against her mother's warmth, blinking away tears that threatened to spill. The shadows in the house seemed to swell, stretching, reaching for them. "Mama!" Teddy pulled away from Sarah's grip, his wide eyes glazed with otherworldly light. "Can't you hear them? They call us. They want us." As if on cue, a fierce wind howled again, causing the walls to tremble. Sarah felt the chill seep into her bones, dragging her with it into the abyss of ancient fear. Staring back into the dark, she glimpsed flickers of movement. A shadow leaped in the corner of her eye, a towering silhouette just beyond the threshold, waiting, hungry. "Stop it. You're scaring your sister," Sarah shouted, voice cracking, but Teddy only giggled. The sound was a cruel mockery, dancing off the walls as though taunting her. "I'm not scared, Mama. I want to see," he chirped. The innocence of his words stung with a creeping dread, knotting tighter around her heart. "Mama!" Mia grabbed Sarah's shirt, pulling her down. "They're coming. We have to let them in." The ground beneath her threatened to pull her under. The shadows shifted, weaving tales of terror through her mind. A flash of vision of the frost giants, standing enormous and fierce, their icy breath fogging the air, whispering promises of power and secrets. The dread knotted in her gut, and she knew she had to act before her children were lost. "No!" she screamed, her voice ringing out in defiance. Grabbing both her children, she stumbled backward, slamming the door shut, feeling the resonating thud echoing against her heart. "They won't take you. I won't let it happen." But a thud against the door sent a tremor through her body. She could hear the whispers now, clearer, clawing at her sanity. "Let us in, join us, we can protect you." Trembling, Sarah backed away from the door, eyes wide. The shadows beneath it writhed, creeping, whispering secrets that made her blood turn to ice. She had to uncover the truth before it consumed everything. The air grew still, forbidding, waiting. Would she stand against the looming terror, or would the frost giants finally break free from their slumber? In that hollow silence, she knew this was only the beginning. The real nightmare was yet to come. The shadows slithered around the room, wrapping themselves around Sarah like ghostly fingers, squeezing life from her resolve. She could hear Teddy and Mia whispering, though their voices no longer sounded like innocent children. They were too sweet, too soft, like a venomous lullaby drawing her closer to despair. "Don't listen to them, please," Sarah cried, shaking with fear, each word a desperate plea. But inside, the darkness beckoned with a seductive promise of safety, a promise she knew was a lie. Her heart pounded as the beat merged with the ghostly whispers, becoming a twisted cadence. "Mama, Mama, we can play." Teddy's voice hovered, echoing through her mind. The air grew colder, a biting chill that pierced through her thin sweater. She felt it, crawling over her skin, whispered warning prickling her arms. "Stay close!" Sarah shouted. She stepped back, pulling her children tighter against her, their bodies a fragile shield against the looming terror. The door shook violently, each tremor sending ripples of dread coursing through her veins. She had to keep it shut, no matter the cost. The shrieks of the wind grew deafening. It was no longer just the wind. Something was out there, furious and vengeful, wanting in. Hushed voices calling, coaxing her children by name, mingling with the distant growl that reverberated through the moist earth like a voracious predator awakening from a long slumber. "Mama!" Mia's voice trembled, fractured with fear. "They want to stop. They can come in if you let them know. I want to let them take you." Sarah shouted, grabbing both children and leading them back into the heart of the house, where the flickering light bulbs overhead felt like a fragile illusion in the encroaching darkness. She stumbled into the kitchen, scanning the room for anything that could defend them, but the cupboards were bare, they barely even had a knife. Out of desperation, Sarah piled chairs against the front door, her heart hammering like a war drum. Just one barricade wouldn't hold forever. What was happening? Where were her neighbors? Why wasn't anyone coming to help? Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like waves crashing against jagged rocks. "Mama, they want to help us," Teddy insisted, eyes glazed over, wandering towards the door. He rocked back and forth, a marionette manipulated by unseen strings. "No!" Sarah snapped, gripping Teddy's shoulder tight enough to draw a startled gasp. "You don't know what you're saying. They want you to leave me." The thud against the door was more violent this time, shaking the frames. The air seemed to crackle, an electric charge of impending doom. She pressed her ear to the wood, straining to decipher the whispers. The words were rising, filling her mind with secrets once forgotten, dark tales of cursed giants who would make their children prized possessions in some twisted game. "Sarah," a voice crooned from the other side, cold as ice. "Don't you remember us? You promised you would come." A frigid gust of wind burst through a small crack above the door, sending a shiver racing down her spine. Images flashed in her mind, giant figures wreathed in snow, piercing eyes gleaming with hunger, and laughter that sounded too much like the sweet giggles of her own children. "Mama! Let them in!" Mia begged, intertwining her fingers with Teddy's, their small bodies swaying in unison as if they were hypnotized. "No! Please!" Sarah felt her resolve crumbling, the weight of their innocent pleas choking her anger. She had to fight this, to save them from this cursed fate. But memories of her own childhood stories slithered back into her mind, exposed and raw fables about the frost giants who took children, memories buried beneath layers of reality. Suddenly, the door splintered. A crack opened, and cold, blinding light burst through. Their silhouettes screamed to her, shadows straining against the threshold. Sarah's breath caught. This was their moment, their hungry waiting had come to fruition. "Let us help you," it beckoned, an enticing whisper caressing the edges of her sanity. Sarah steeled herself, heart racing. She had to find a way to fight back, to resist this primal pull. But with the light spilling into the room, illuminating the darkness, the choice was slipping from her grasp. What would she sacrifice to save her children, or would she sacrifice them to save herself? As the door threatened to give way, Sarah braced for the unraveling, her heart screaming for answers. Just then, the floor shook, rattling the very foundations of their home. A shadow emerged, too big, too swift. Her blood ran cold. In that fractured moment, she knew, the true horror had yet to reveal itself, and time was running out. Would she find the strength to confront the frost giants, or would she fall prey to the darkness? As the crack widened, a chilling voice echoed in the chaos. "Your home now." With dread sinking into her bones, Sarah clutched her children tighter. What awaited them on the other side? The air crackled, reality teetering on the edge of something unspeakably dark. The blinding light surged into the living room like a tide, washing over the scattered remnants of their once safe home. Sarah's heartbeat thundered as she turned from the door, torn between her instincts telling her to escape and the fearful eyes of her children. "Mama! Please! Mia cried, her voice quivering like a fragile leaf caught in a storm. As if in a trance, Teddy's feet moved, drawn toward the door. Shadows flickered across his face, twisting his features into a grotesque reflection of innocence. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat, choking her words. She lunged forward, grasping his arm just as he reached for the opening. "Don't you see, Teddy?" she gasped, her breath shallow and frantic. "It's a trap. It's not safe." The light throbbed brighter, illuminating a hulking figure just beyond the threshold. It was too distorted to decipher an amalgamation of frost and shadow, eyes like piercing stars that seemed to dissect her very soul. "Let us help you." The voice cooed again, smooth like ice on a winter night. "We've come so far, Sarah. Remember you chose us." The walls trembled as the giant laughed, a sound so chilling it sent shivers racing down her spine. It wasn't the jolly laughter of a fairy tale, it was the cruel laughter of something ancient that feasted on fear. Frantic, Sarah whirled around and faced her children. Their cheeks glowed a pale blue, like fresh snow illuminated by moonlight. The innocence in their eyes had dimmed, replaced now by eerie calmness. "Mama, don't fight it. They want us to play," Mia said, her voice harmonizing perfectly with Teddy's as if they were reciting a spell woven into their very being. "It's wrong. It's all wrong." Sarah's pleas were met with only silence as her grip on reality began to fray. The giantess form flickered, grotesque and majestic, like a master of puppets dancing in darkness. Desperation clawed at her heart, every instinct screamed for light and life. "Close your eyes," Sarah shouted, the words pouring from her like a raging river. "No. No. Don't listen to them." The room instantly darkened, swallowed by an oppressive silence. The shadows receded, but they didn't vanish entirely. They merged and coiled like serpents, creeping toward her ray of hope. She pressed herself between them and the door, holding her arms wide, as if her love could shield them from the encroaching void. But what was this? Her children stood still, their eyes vacant, unseeing. The faintest ghost of a smile split Mia's face, and Teddy's lips curled as if some silent understanding passed between them. "Oh God, no!" she cried out, terror unfurling within her like a malignant flower. "You're my children. You can't want this." "Join us, Mama," Teddy whispered, stepping closer to the threshold, stretching out his tiny hand in invitation. The shadow upon the door expanded, swallowing the last traces of warmth in the room. It beckoned, twisting reality into a dreamlike nightmare. The floor seemed to pulse, rising beneath her feet, as icy hands grasped at her ankles, tense, desperate fingers pulling her into despair. Sarah fought against the darkness, her body trembling, heart racing. She couldn't lose them. Not this way. Every horror story she'd ever been told crashed into her mind with dizzying speed. Desperation formed a single question that echoed louder than the whispers: what sacrifice would save them, her sanity, her soul? With a scream that pierced the silence, Sarah propelled herself toward her children. The shadows snarled, clawing at her back with chilling determination. Would she have the strength to retrieve her children from the brink, or would they be lost to the whims of something far greater than herself? Just as her fingers brushed against Mia's hand, the door jolted open with a burst of blinding light, revealing a world behind it. The air thickened, pulling her deeper into the warmth. A heartbeat thrummed beneath her feet, deep and ancient. At that moment, clarity struck like a lightning bolt, shocking, beautiful, visceral. She could feel the pulse of something that could be their salvation or their end. And in that heartbeat, Sarah knew they were faced with a choice even darker than any she had imagined. But as her heart thundered in rebellion, the door creaked wider, and terrifying laughter spilled through, echoing in her bones. Amongst the chaos, the figures moved closer and closer still, drawn to the echoes of their own past. Welcome, the whispers rolled in, inviting like soft snow on a winter night. What secrets lay beyond the threshold? What horrors awaited as the true darkness unveiled itself? The light flooded the room, swallowing shadows and revealing forms she dared not comprehend. Sarah's heart raced, each beat a drum of fear and defiance. She could feel the pull of her children, their hands reaching toward the doorway, drawn toward the beckoning figure in the light. But that wasn't her Teddy and Mia. Not anymore. Mama. Their voices now echoed eerily, harmonies twisted by something far more sinister. Don't be scared. We want to go home. That place was a memory now, drenched in danger and faced with the unthinkable. The grip on her heart tightened, panic blending with determination. She squeezed her eyes shut tight, willing the shadows to disappear, willing her children to return to her. Listen to me. You have to fight it, she pleaded, her voice trembled and raw as she wrestled with the chaos around her. What was once a sanctuary was now painted with a dark imagination, the very walls crying out in agony, as if they too were being devoured. Open your eyes, Mama. Teddy called, sweet yet unsettling. It was an invite, chilling as ice. We're playing a new game. And you're invited. Sarah screamed, a reflexive shout that ripped through the still air. Get back. Both of you. She lunged forward again, determination overriding the icy grip of dread that choked her. But fear still readied its claws, digging into her flesh when from beyond the silhouette, glacial fingers grasped at the children's faces, slipping into their thoughts, into their minds. Laughter erupted again, ringing ethereally, it was mocking, stretched across the rift of light and darkness. Let them come, it teased, into the warmth of the forever hearth. It's where they belong, where they've always belonged. Cold seeped into her lungs as she whimpered, backing away, taking crucial steps into the stillness of the heart of the room. Everything twisted around her, shadows pulling her deeper, as if the very air was conspiring against her. Yet, in that frantic moment of hopelessness, something flickered at the edges of her mind, a spark of an old folklore her grandmother once whispered, words as haunting as lullabies. Books tell tales of frost giants, ancient beings cursed to slumber but always waiting. They come for children, stealing away their warmth. Were her children now drawn into this cursed game? Join us, Mama. Mia sang again, the voice enraptured by distant memories. It's beautiful where we're going, no more fear. Stop. Sarah pleaded, clutching her chest, the tempest within her swelling. She felt a rush of desperation, the instinct to hold on against a tide that threatened to drown her. Shadows swirled, dark tendrils creeping from the corners of the room, embracing her like a lover turned vicious. Children. Listen. We can find a way. But their eyes remained vacant, caught in a trance that shimmered dangerously near freedom. The frozen laughter transformed into shrieks, almost pleasurable in their madness. You think you can resist us? You chose this path. Just then, from the tilt of her wrist, she felt cold metal against her skin, her grandmother's locket. It gleamed defiantly against the tide of darkness as she pressed it tighter between her fingers, recalling the promise it held, protection from the cursed and the damned. Stay with me. Stay with your mother. She shouted, desperation echoing within. But the shadows twisted. The locket burst open, revealing a small fray of ancient light, a shimmer that danced upon the predatory darkness. It can't hold. A whisper seeped through the swirling chaos around her. Suddenly, it was as if time froze, the hollow laughter fell silent. Teddy and Mia's expressions flickered, eyes searching, unsure. The shadows hissed around them, coiling tighter. Mom, her son's voice emerged, trembling yet filled with confusion. The warmth of recognition, a flicker of hope she desperately clung to. Then a single thought crystallized, shocking through her veins. Could this ancient ritual, this pact, could it actually be broken? Just before the shadows threatened to consume her once and for all, Sarah's thoughts surged. What must she do to save them? To save herself? The echoes of the giants began to hum again, brushing against her mind, but now filled with purpose. What price would she have to pay? As Teddy and Mia blinked, clarity glinting briefly in their eyes, she realized the true horror. The choice lay not in her children, but in her own soul. Whatever it takes. She declared, a burning resolve igniting like wildfire, and as the shadows writhed, closing in, she prepared to reclaim what was hers. What darkness lurked behind those ancient doors? With a deep breath, she stepped closer as icy winds screamed her name. Can a mother fight the monstrous incantation of the giants to reclaim her children? What unholy sacrifice would she have to make as she ventured into the shadows? Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, an echoing alarm barely loud enough to drown out the sinister whispers coiling around her like a snake ready to strike. She pressed the locket against her skin, ignoring the chilling cold seeping through the metal. With each heartbeat, she could almost feel the giants stirring, awakening from their ancient slumber. "Mom, please." Teddy's voice cracked. It wasn't just fear, there was something deeper, a plea to break through the enchantment wrapping around his mind. "Mia." She called fiercely, drawing on every ounce of love and panic. "Look at me. You have to fight. Remember our games? The stories we shared?" The air shifted, a heaviness settling in as the tendrils of shadow crept closer, hungry and deceitful. Teddy and Mia's laughter died, a broken echo cascading through the stillness. Their faces hardened, expressions momentarily vacant as if the shadows were puppeteering their every detail. "Will you join us in the game of eternity?" A voice echoed, smooth like ice. It emanated from the arena of light, beckoning and horrific all at once. "It's so much easier to give in." "No." Sarah shouted defiantly, stepping closer, pushing against the dark magic that crackled in the air. She remembered with agonizing clarity the warmth of her children's love, the way they cuddle against her during storms. "We're a family. We do this together." In that heartbeat of determination, the locket glimmered anew, its light pulsating in rhythm with her hope. "You don't have to be afraid. Fight," she urged, her words laced with urgency that spilled into the air. The shadows hissed in anger, thrashing violently, the cold biting into her skin. But paused. It was just long enough for her children to blink and show a flicker of recognition, as if they were shedding layers of a terrible nightmare and beginning to wake. "Mom." Mia's voice trembled, disoriented yet shielded by the fading power of darkness. "What is happening?" "Fight. Choose me, choose love." Sarah urged frantically, desperation clawing at her throat. She could still see that malevolent light pulsing, the very embodiment of the giants who sought to devour them whole. Yet what if this was their only chance? A chorus of shrieks erupted from the shadows, furious and godless. "You think you can turn them? They belong to us. You will regret it." As the giant's fury swelled, rippling through the room, Sarah's muscles tensed. She felt the pull of something deep in her gut, the darkest instinct for survival. What was the threshold of sacrifice? What could she risk, what would she give? "Step into the light, join us." The figure called, honey-sweet and laced with menace. It extended a shimmering hand, shadows coiling like a serpent around it. "Don't listen. Fight, my loves." She screamed, choking on her fears as she lunged toward them. "Let them come," the figure taunted, "it's not just a game. It's freedom. A home you've long forgotten." With trembling hands, Sarah gripped her locket harder, summoning warmth and courage. "We'll make our own home," she shouted. "Together." As she surged forward, shadows screamed and recoiled, but brighter light surged around her. The giants were thrashing, thrumming with rage. Her heart threatened to explode, it was this moment that would shatter or unite them. "Mom." Teddy's eyes widened, pleading, fighting against the dark spell that in that desperate instant, Sarah felt the world sway, the air thick with choice. "What will you pay?" The voice was less patient, anticipation crackling like static. The children's vacant gazes started to shimmer with glimmers of their lost warmth. Then Sarah spoke, her voice steady despite terror spiraling through her. "Whatever it takes." The room shook, shadows clawing fiercely around her as if trying to wrench her away. Would their love be enough? Suddenly, she noticed a shimmering path forming beyond the swirling void, an escape or perhaps an endless rift, beckoning despite the howls of anguish surrounding them. What lay down that path? Salvation? Damnation? Deep down, Sarah knew the hardest choice still awaited her, and with a sudden burst of trust, hers and her children's, she let go of the locket. Together. Always. She screamed, a fierce battle cry that ripped through darkness. The ground beneath them quaked as she sped toward the path. Could they finally break free? But as the shadows twisted viciously behind them, a haunting laughter curled back into the room. Your sacrifice has only just begun. We will see you again and worse things yet. The barriers surged and twisted, and as they reached the shimmering escape, Sarah could feel their warmth barely slip through her fingers. Would they be able to run from this darkness, or would they be pulled back into its depths? With every ounce of power left in her, she charged forward, determined to face whatever awaited on the other side. But what awaited them in that blinding light? Secrets buried long ago, decisions that would haunt them for eternity. In the last moment before they crossed, she could just feel it, a shiver of dread wrap around her heart, whispering darkness still to come. Sarah stumbled into the light, breath fogging the air as it consumed her and her children. For a fleeting second, she thought they might be safe, but the moment stretched like a drum taut with fear, threatening to snap. The brightness pulsated, an entity of its own, but with each heartbeat, dark shapes crept at the edges. Shadows flickered and twisted, clawing their way into the light, revealing glimpses of the grotesque. The children gripped her hands tightly, their warmth against the encroaching cold, a lifeline that threatened to slip away. Teddy! Mia! She shouted, her voice piercing through the cacophony of whispers. Stay close. Panic seized her when she looked down at Teddy. His expression shifted again, the spark of struggle fading, replaced by a glossy stare that sent dread spiraling deep. Mom, it's so cold. No. She shrieked, shaking his shoulders gently. You have to fight. Remember what we were running from? Come on. We can't let them win. But her words felt hollow, dissipating against the bleak air that wrapped around them like a shroud. The landscape began to morph, cruelly beautiful yet unsettling. By some twisted design, chamber walls seemed to breathe, exhaling an icy chill that made her shudder. Iridescent shadows danced across the vivid canvas, the whispering voices now rising to a deafening crescendo. You are ours, forever. Her chest tightened, the panic mounting with each echoing whisper. She caught sight of the shimmering path fading behind her. What had she done? Was this all a mistake? Then she heard it, a voice layered with cold indifference, haunted yet strangely familiar. Welcome back, Sarah. The figure glided towards them, a sinuous silhouette with an icy crown that shifted and flickered in the straining light. You thought you could escape? The giants have waited for you for centuries. Get away from us. Sarah yelled, but her voice cracked under the weight of the despair closing in. Fear not, dear, it hissed, glacial and smooth. Embrace your destiny. We only come to offer you what you truly crave. Strength. Power. A family that will never leave, fear that will never falter. No. This isn't right. She shouted, the shadows whispering promises of betrayal, tempting her children with visions of what they might gain. Mia's voice quavered beside her, Mom. I think it's beautiful. No. It's a trap. Sarah begged, as dread churned in her guts. She felt herself slipping, the pull of darkness aimed straight at her children. Please, remember who you are. The stories. The warmth. The figure smiled, a thin-lipped mockery of joy, its features contorting as the shadows wrapped tighter around her family. You can't save them, you can't even save yourself. Embrace your fate, or those you love will suffer the worst. The air crackled ominously, and Teddy's face paled, confusion glazing his eyes. Mom, I don't understand. Mia gasped, I want to stay. It's safe here. No. Sarah screamed, feeling terror grip her like a vice. She darted between her children and the approaching monstrosity. No. Not my family. The shadows surged, clawing at her, hissing like 100 snakes. Your choices ripple like stones cast into a pond, Sarah. Will your sacrifice mean freedom, or nothing? She drew a shaky breath, eyes darting back to her kids, searching desperately for any signs of recognition, any flicker of their love. Would destiny choose them? And then she saw it, tiny, radiating warmth glinting against the deep shadows, her locket. It had fallen. In that split moment of hesitation, that anguished decision, she realized the choice would leave one of them exposed. She lunged for the locket, but time had run taut as a wire about to snap. Choose who you will save. Came the chilling whisper of the figure, its grotesque form surging closer. Would they meet their fate or uncover secrets better left buried? The locket shimmered enticingly, hope hanging by a thread. Sarah's throat tightened as she made her decision. It was a choice no mother should ever have to confront. And just as the shadows lunged, reaching for her children, a whisper swept through the air, chilling her soul. You don't know the truth of their legacy, what truth awaited them beyond this life, or worse, what awaited on the other side of the darkness. Choose. The figure commanded, its voice oozing with a cruel delight. Sarah felt the world tilt as shadows pressed in, a looming dread clawing at her insides. It was a sick twist of fate that the choice was even hers to make, that there were two of her children begging for love, each lost in the tempest of darkness. Mom! Teddy whimpered, panic making him tremble. Please, I want to go home. The urgency in his voice shot through her like ice. She glanced at Mia, who seemed entranced by the swirling, alluring glow of shadows, a helpless puppet in a wretched play. Time froze, yet it was slipping through her fingers, as if the very air conspired to suffocate her with indecision. Think, Sarah. She whispered to herself. How could love become a choice? It doesn't make sense. But the grotesque figure grinned wider, its teeth jagged like shards of nightmares made manifest. You create the path, dear heart. One must stay, one must go. With each word, the shadows shifted hungrily, awaiting her verdict with an eagerness that made her skin crawl. Please. Sarah cried, desperation clawing at her throat. I can't lose either of you. Mia's eyes sparkled with fascination, tears outlined in glittering darkness. But it's beautiful here, Mommy. Reasons to stay. Look at all the colors. Colors? Teddy echoed, his voice flat, lost somewhere far away. The cold invaded his being, seeking to claim him. I don't see colors, just darkness. Adrenaline surged through Sarah, igniting a flicker of purpose. No. Not on my watch. She lunged toward Teddy, her heart hammering in her chest, the locket almost forgotten in the chaos. Stay with me, Teddy. We've been through too much. But the shadows darted fiercely around them, wrapping their tendrils like freezing chains around her feet. You should give in. The figure hissed. Embrace the frost. Together forever, nothing to fear. The chilling taunt echoed, plunging into her ear like dull knives. No getaway. She howled, feeling the weight of eternity press down upon her. Then, an unthinkable thought struck like lightning. What if she saved Teddy? What if, in that moment, she surrendered Mia to the darkness? Would that be a fate worse than death? No, Sarah, no. She jerked as if slapped awake, struggling to stave off the horror that crept near. The figure leaned in closer, its shadow swallowing her family whole. The bond of blood is forever, Sarah. Is it worth the price? Sweat trailed down her back, mingling with the fear pulsing through her veins. Let my children go. She shouted, her voice cracking as anguish roared inside, desperation clawing up her throat. Please. In that split second, the figure flickered, a burst of doubt breaking its icy mask. The shadows wavered. Did she imagine it? Or was there a crack, a moment of weakness in the grasp of terrible seduction? Teddy peeked up, surprise shining through the mist. Mommy, I feel something. Hold my hand. As their fingers locked together, warmth surged, fighting against the biting cold. The shadows recoiled. Suddenly, Teddy's voice didn't sound distant, it rang with clarity, pulling at the light, the essence of who they were. "Keep holding on," Sarah urged, strength coiling in her chest. Could they break free? Was there a way to reclaim what had been stolen? But realization washed over her. Shadows diminished, yet they would not retreat for long. The threat loomed, ready to strike again. The locket shimmered, the secrets enclosed within it flickering like a beacon in the wrapping darkness. Just as she steadied herself to make a choice she wouldn't regret, the figure lunged forward, its whispers thickening in intensity. "Your bravery defines your fate. To protect, or to sacrifice. Choose." Sarah's heart raced, faced with the abyss stretching endlessly before her. What should she do? Who should she save? In that moment, a laughter echoed, chilling her resolve. "What are you willing to pay for their freedom?" No more hesitation. No more tricks. But just as she readied her voice to speak, the shadows surged, pulling at them like a flood breaking away a dam. Pain thundered through the air. Lights flickered, and the room darkened. As they tumbled backward, a scream swallowed whole, silence engulfing everything. Would Sarah uncover the truth behind the legacy, or would it lead them deeper into the maw of darkness? The answer loomed ahead, relentless and hungry. The shadows twisted and churned, enveloping Sarah, Teddy, and Mia in a suffocating darkness that felt alive, as if it were breathing around them. Panic surged through Sarah's veins like wildfire. She could feel the weight of dread, an unshakable specter that wrapped tight around her heart. "Mommy!" Teddy's voice rang out, sharper now, slicing through the murky blackness. "I can't see. Where are you?" "Right here, Teddy," she shouted, forcing her voice to stay steady, though fear clawed at her throat. She reached for him, her fingertips brushing against his clammy skin. Relief pulsed through her. "We're going to get out of this together, I promise." The grotesque figure loomed at the edges of her perception, their laughter echoing like thunder. "They are entranced, Sarah. You're fighting for the wrong one. Let go and you will be free. Wouldn't that be splendid?" "No." Sarah screamed back, defiance igniting in her chest. The shadows recoiled slightly, sensing her determination. This isn't over. She could feel the temperature drop, each cold breath pressing in on her. It was like she was being pulled into a whirlpool of despair, where hope was the last thing to drown. Yet, she could not falter. "Mommy, I can't hold on." Teddy's fingers were slipping away, his small, frightened voice cracking. "No, no." Her heart raced as she yanked Teddy back, anchoring him to her even as the darkness tugged. She was losing them. She couldn't let it happen. Mia stood still, enchanted, the shadows wrapping around her like a dark, silky cloak. "Mommy, it is beautiful." She seemed lost, like a dreamer enchanted by sweet nightmares. "No, Mia. You have to fight." Sarah cried, reaching out, but the figure stepped closer, blocking her path, its grin wider than ever. "She belongs to me now. Let her go." Sarah thundered, the words bursting from her, fueled by desperation. In that instant, a flash of pain shot through her. The locket around her neck grew unbearably hot. She yanked it from beneath her shirt. Its surface pulsed, whispering secrets of an ancient power she didn't fully understand. "Use it." The voice shifted, no longer mocking, but teasingly serious. "The truth is yours to command. But will you pay the price?" "What price?" Fear flooded her again, pooling in her stomach. She could feel the energy in the air stirring, and time swirled strangely, as though space was warping around them. As if in response, tendrils of shadow lurched towards her, scraping against her skin, tearing at her resolve. Each touch was like lightning, freezing her with fear. "You'll lose a part of yourself for every decision you make," the figure breathed, its breath full of frost. "Who will you sacrifice for their freedom?" Mia's gaze met hers, still lost but with glimmering recognition. Something deeper flickered between them, and Sarah felt that bond, raw and undeniable. "Mommy, I'm scared," the fabric of reality twisted. It was now or never. Foggy memories of laughter and love flashed before her eyes, dancing in sunlight, family dinners, bedtime stories. With trembling hands, she held the locket tightly, summoning everything she had left. "I choose to save them," she declared, her voice ringing out with newfound clarity and strength, even as the shadows converged, ready to swallow them whole. But was she making a grave mistake? In that moment, the ground shook, and the figure howled, thrashing against her resolve. "So be it. But remember, choices come at a cost." As darkness exploded, she felt a searing pain at her heart, an emptiness tearing through her that felt irrevocable. And then, darkness. Complete and consuming, like a void where nothing existed. What was the true cost of her decision? And what would happen to her precious children? Would they be safe, or would they pay the price for their mother's love? The answer festered in the darkness, waiting to reveal its sinister truth. The darkness enveloped Sarah, squeezing her heart, crushing her resolve. It felt cold, ancient, like a wound reopening, fierce and relentless. But deep within the void, she clutched onto the memories of her children, a lifeline that spiraled back into the light. "Teddy! Mia!" she called, voice echoing against the obsidian walls of despair. As if in response, flickers of warmth began to ignite the cold. "Mommy," came Mia's soft whimper, the words laced with confusion. "Help us, I'm here, my loves. I'm fighting for you." With all her being, Sarah pushed against the shadows, fueled by love's blazing fire. The locket pulsed in her grasp, now an ember of hope burning softly in the chilling darkness. Its heat spread through her fingers, igniting her spirit, reminding her of her purpose. The figure reared back, shadows swirling, laughing with eerie glee. "You think love can shield you from the price you've paid?" it hissed, its features shifting like the very darkness wrapping around them. But as the darkness writhed, something shifted inside Sarah, an unyielding strength surged from the depths of her despair. "I don't care what price I have to pay. I'll bear it all if it means saving my children." The shadows faltered, retreating slightly, as if her unwavering defiance sent tremors through their core. The monstrous figure paused, visibly shaken by her vow. "Embrace the darkness, and you can have them," it whispered, voice silky smooth yet laced with danger. "Never!" she screamed, her voice penetrating the gloom like a blade. The shadows twisted violently around her, shrieking, but she felt the light within her growing, an explosion of raw power fueled by love. "I choose light. I choose my children. I'd never abandon you." Just as she spoke those words, Teddy and Mia's forms flickered back into view, suspended in that dreadful space. Their eyes shone, confusion lingering with traces of recognition. "Mommy! We're scared," Teddy whimpered, his little hand reaching out, tethered to his mother's light. "Hold on to me," she cried, a frenzy of determination propelling her forward. Reaching out, she grasped Teddy's hand tightly, then Mia's fingers weaving together against the oppressive darkness. The shadows recoiled, and for the first time, a fracture appeared in their icy grip. "Come to me," Sarah shouted, pouring all of her love into those words. With an eruption of incandescent light, they were pulled from the dark. It blazed like the dawn breaking through a long night, revealing their surroundings in sharp detail. They stood now, not in blackness but in a luminous chamber, the grotesque figure dissolving into wisps of shadow. In its place, a kaleidoscope of color blossomed around them, tender greens and vibrant blues, the essence of life swirling. But the cost lingered in the air. Sarah felt it, an emptiness inside her, a gnawing echo of something irrevocably lost. She had fought fiercely, shaping their future with pure love. Yet the victory felt bittersweet. "What happened?" Mia asked, glancing around, her innocence still shimmering through the memories of darkness. "It's over," Sarah breathed, relief and sorrow mingling in her heart. "We're safe. But something tugged at her. A familiar ache in her chest, the remnants of that heavy cost. They were free from the frost giants, but what remained of her love? As the sun began to rise outside, illuminating their small home, reality settled in. Winter's grasp loosened its hold, and the air felt lighter, invigorating. Yet, Sarah knew they were changed, scarred by the encounter, threads of darkness still threading through their minds. As they made their way back inside, Sarah gazed at her children, taking in their laughter, the warmth of their small bodies against her. She couldn't shake the feeling of loss, the invisible bond she'd sacrificed somewhere along the way. But in this moment, she chose to focus on what remained. "Let us make hot chocolate," she said brightly, her heart swelling with love despite the ache within. "Mama, can we add marshmallows?" Teddy asked, eyes sparkling. "Of course. As many as you want," she replied, a smile breaking through her worrying thoughts. And as they stood together, the frost of their past receding like a shadow, Sarah knew their journey wasn't over. There would be healing, lessons to learn, and the occasional chill in the air that served as a reminder. But they would face it all together. Together, Sarah whispered to herself, holding her children tight as the sunlight poured through the window, this was their new beginning. Don't let the frost giants haunt you too. You need to subscribe now to this channel, so you won't miss a single exclusive story. Smash that like button now if you want to see more amazing tales. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think the future holds for Sarah and her children? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how courage can conquer darkness. Show true support for our stories.